Welcome to everyone who is already on this link. We will be starting the West African Farmers Forum in just a few minutes. Greetings, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and depending on where you are and when you are today. Welcome to the West African Farmers Forum by AGRA, the Alliance for a Green Revolution in Africa, in partnership with Jeune Afrique and the Africa Report. My name is Nicholas Norbrook. I'm the managing editor of the Africa Report, and I'll be your MC. The first panel in this crucial event will be in English, the second in French. We will have translations. On the bottom right-hand side of your screen, you have an interpretation button. Press that and select the channel you need. Let me now speak to our Francophone brothers and sisters now to include them. Bonjour mesdames, bonjour messieurs et bienvenue au Forum Ouest Africain des agriculteurs de l'AGRA, l'Alliance pour une révolution verte en Afrique, en partenariat avec le groupe Jeune Afrique. Je m'appelle Nicolas Norbrook, je serai le modérateur de ce premier panel en anglais. Ensuite, mon collègue Frédéric Maury prendra la main pour le deuxième panel qui sera donc en français. Vous avez de l'interprétation. Le bouton sur votre écran en bas à droite vous permet de choisir entre l'anglais et le français. Je vais continuer maintenant en anglais. So let me take you through our running order for today. First, we will have remarks from Dr. Fadel Ndiame, the Deputy President of AGRA. Following that, our first panel on progress and challenges facing farmers in West Africa. Then we shall have a keynote delivered by Seth Osei Akoto, the Director for Crop Services at the Ministry for Food and Agriculture in Ghana. Then we shall have a short 10-minute break, followed by our second panel on solutions to boost farmer productivity and transform agriculture in West Africa. And finally, our closing remarks delivered by Agi Asimwe Konde, the AGRA Vice President for Program Innovation and Delivery. And you can tweet and ask your questions on the following hashtag WAFARMERSFORUM. That's hashtag WA Farmers Forum. And you also have, for those of you within the platform, a question button at the bottom of your screen too. Now, the need for this event is quite clear, and we commend AGRA for helping bring these important issues to the forefront of public debate. The pandemic has hit the already fragile agricultural ecosystem in West Africa. It's exacerbated food insecurity and exposed the vulnerability of food systems in the region. This has come at a time when shocks like climate change and economic uncertainty are already weighing down the region's agriculture. And to understand what interventions are needed by agriculture in West Africa, we must start by elevating and listening to the voices of the farmers and supporting stakeholders on the ground who are at the heart of the region's agriculture. I'd like to pass the floor now to someone who believes that working with farmer organizations will increase smallholder incomes and livelihood and provide demand-driven income-enhancing services for all members, including access to inputs, services, and markets. I'd like to pass the floor to Dr. Fadel Ndiame, the Deputy President of the Alliance for the Green Revolution in Africa. Dr. Ndiame, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Nicholas. It's really a pleasure to join you. But let me first thank all the distinguished panelists, ladies and gentlemen, who are joining us this morning at this important Farmers Forum. We appreciate your participation as you are very valuable players and partners in this journey. I would like to highlight the fact that the Farmer Forum is really intended to provide a platform for farmers. This is the place where we listen to farmers' voice, we listen to their experience, and we understand how they are approaching their own program and initiative pertaining to addressing challenges of COVID-19 and promoting more resilient food system. So we expect that through this forum, we'll have a healthy debate, starting with farmers' own view, but also incorporating the input and the suggestion and comments from all other stakeholders. I would like to say at this juncture that this meeting takes place at a very important time. I mean, one of the reasons is we are actually currently in the process of the UN Food Systems Summit, which, as you all know, is really trying to bring an inclusive dialogue around how best to build back better and build a more sustainable food system summit. At the same time, we know that the African Union, through its CADEP, the Comprehensive Agricultural Transformation Program, but also the Malabo Commitment and the Sustainable Development Goals, as part of those framework, stakeholders are engaged to try to come up with more sustainable and more effective pathway to improving agriculture. And while it is important to recognize the leadership role played by government and other players, it is even more important to listen to smallholder farmers, who, as we know, are at the heart of producing food and therefore should be probably given a special role in understanding how they experience the current challenges of COVID-19 and how best we should be building back better our system. So COVID is a challenge, as we say. I mean, there is no need to go back to it. We all understand the challenges linked to the lockdown, to losing people who are dear to all of us, to the economic dysfunctionality linked to that. But we also know that it's really an opportunity for the continent to rethink our systems and build more sustainable and more strategic food system that meet the requirement of our time. And the reason why it's so important to listen to farmers is a simple fact that the majority of producers, basically the majority of African poor who suffer the most from food deficiency and food insecurities are actually farmers themselves, because they, the poor are also the farmers. That's part of the irony that we have to deal with. And the World Food Program has already warned us that there is a dramatic increase in the number of people who are at risk because of food insecurity situation in West Africa. I think we have, for this year, they are signaling a number of 31 million as of June of 2021. This is 150 times the number that we had in 2019. I think that it provides us a context of how serious the issue we are dealing with, and the need to come up with practical and scalable solution. And the other reason to listen to farmers is not only they are producers, but they are also at the heart of our food chain, the value chain system. They produce, they consume. Sometimes as part of their own organizing platform, they take part of the value addition. I think that put them also in another good place to give us their insights and their suggestion on how we should go about it. What I can tell you is my organization, the Alliance for Green Revolution in Africa, and our PIATA, the Partnership for Inclusive Agricultural Transformation in Africa. All our partners are totally committed to a farmer-driven, farmer-centric solution to the challenges of COVID and the Food System Summit. We all are mobilized to assist smallholder farmers gain access to relevant technologies, finance, information, and the know-how required to drive their production system and help us build back better our agricultural economies. We believe that today's forum provides an excellent opportunity for representatives of farmers and other stakeholders to speak and have a debate on the strategic approaches to building resilience and more sustainable agricultural system in West Africa and the continent. By the end of this forum, Nicholas and colleague, we expect that we would have all gained a better understanding of what the farmer-centered solution we are looking for look like, because we would have listened and debated with farmers at the heart of this discussion. But we would have done this in a context of understanding how this solution contributes to more sustainable agricultural system that we need now. And I sincerely hope that this forum will raise the profile of farmers in this discussion. We have to be completely compliant to the principle of active subsidiarity, which means starting with the people and the actors who are closer to the problem and who can provide the best opportunity to solve it. And all of us should be mobilized in supporting them to drive the changes that we are all looking for. We also want to express our gratitude to everybody who managed to join this call. And I take the opportunity to thank our brothers and sisters who are on this panel, but also who are in this call. With this few remarks, Nicholas, I thank you for the opportunities, and we look forward to a great and passionate discussion. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ndiame. And those are sobering statistics that you raise about food insecurity across the region. And we very much take your point about the importance of farmer-centered solutions. I believe we will be talking a great deal about that in this upcoming panel. Thanks again, Dr. Ndiame. So let's turn now then to three participants in this first panel. Let me briefly introduce them. Kabiru Ibrahim is the National President of the All Farmers Association of Nigeria. Ayodeji Balogun is CEO of AFEX, which is Nigeria's first licensed private commodity exchange. And Professor Eric Dankwa is Director of the West Africa Center for Crop Improvement. Greetings to all three of you. And let's keep on this idea of farmer-centered solutions. I'll go, if I can, first to you, Mr. Ibrahim, to talk a little bit about technology adoption by farmers. And I wanted to know, over the past 5 years, what technologies have the members of your association been adopting the most, and what for you are the drivers of technology adoption in Nigeria and beyond?
Good morning to you all. As you rightly pointed out, the engine room for the attainment of food security in Nigeria is largely the smallholder farmer because we do not have appreciable level of mechanization. And the impetus to scale up their farmers' productivity is the uptake of technology. Permit me to also maybe sing our song, the AFAN, the All Farmers Association of Nigeria. We have this stanza that says, if there is no farmer, there is no nation. And if there are great farmers, the nation will be great. So no farmer, no nation, great farmer, great nation. The All Farmers Association has a Herculean task in Nigeria to feed about 200 million mouths. And we, as the leaders of these farmers, have to encourage them to assiduously work to meet this task of feeding the large number of people. And of course, we have to uptake technology. And the technologies that we definitely need to take, and we have been taking for the past 5 years, around seed, good seed, system of crop intensification, climate conscious actions, as well as many other methodologies, the use of fertilizer, the timing of using it, the quantities that we use and how to use it. In partnership with many developing partners, as well as our CBN, which is making a very, very big investment in agriculture today, we have achieved many inroads and very strategic leaps and bounds in yield. The Alliance for Green Revolution in Africa, AGRA, has been playing a very vital role in supporting the smallholder farmers through so many partners like Sasakawa, NERILS, our research institutes in Zaria, the Ministries of Agriculture and Rural Development, in scaling up the productivity of these farmers in about 3 competencies now: rice, maize, and soybeans, in some 2 key states here in the north. They are mostly, one is in the northwest, the other one is in north central. But our geography is such that we can say that both of them are actually in the north central. They are the states of Kaduna, where the AGRA is working in about 21 local government areas, and in Niger State, where AGRA is working in about 25 local government areas, reaching out to about 1 million people. And the testimonies of these farmers is that their yields have improved. Therefore, their overall productivity has improved. Now, I need to fixate this against the backdrop of what we are going through in Nigeria today. The whole world is experiencing COVID-19. Nigeria is experiencing COVID-19 and insecurity in almost all parts of the country. Earlier on, it was just the northeastern part of the country, then the northwest, north central, but now it's all over. There's a lot of banditry, kidnapping, and there are so many skirmishes between herders and farmers. Nigeria has a very large population. You know, we need to feed, formally, we need to feed 200 million mouths in Nigeria. But Nigeria has had the advantage or disadvantage, however you want to look at it, to be the food basket of so many African countries, including Ghana. I know there is a Ghanaian here. The Niger Republic really depends on Nigeria for food. So not only do we need to scale up our production to feed our population, we have to also feed these countries around Africa for us to have peace within Nigeria. And now we have an opportunity also to do good business through AFTA, the Africa Free continental free trade area that we just signed up to. And this is the more reason why we should encourage our farmers to leverage on the technologies available and to even seek more. Let us have a lot of mechanization going forward to be able to upscale our production so that we will feed our countries, our country and the countries near us, and as well play a very good role on after.
And
so the All Farmers Association, which is the umbrella body of all farmer associations in Nigeria, is working with so many development partners to be able to bring about food sufficiency in Nigeria. But the role that AGRA has been playing in these two states is very, very remarkable. So we are encouraging for there to be the possibility of doing this in almost all the states of Nigeria, so that we will broaden these possibilities.
I was hoping we might drill down onto one of the things that you raised earlier, which was the impact of climate change. You mentioned insecurity affecting the lives of farmers. Climate change seems to be an equally difficult thing to manage. You have rains coming at unpredictable times.
A lot of flooding.
Planting seasons becoming hard to predict. What technologies can you be using to help mitigate against that?
Well, there are many things we can use, but I believe also agriculture. Agriculture itself mitigates climate change. Planting plant covers may help in some of the areas. Then listening to advice from NIMET, because of you mentioned the rain pattern and all that, which we always disseminate to all the 774 local governments of Nigeria, so that people will be aware. And then also giving them information on when to plant.
NIMET is your meteorological service, is that right?
Yes, NIMET is yes. The timing of planting is very, very crucial, because it could coincide with a dry spell, which would mean losing whatever you plant. And you will also have to advise the farmers to plant away from flood-prone areas, so that what they plant will not be washed away. I said climate conscious actions. I put a general statement on it, and it's very important. Climate change is a very important element. Everybody in the world thought climate change the effects will be felt later, but unfortunately we are feeling it now. In the United States, in Louisiana, I think there is trouble there already. So, and in Nigeria, we have had so many flooding, so many areas of no rain. Even now, there's a lot of trepidation. I live in the northernmost part of the country. I live in Katsina. We are fearful that some of the crops that we planted might not do very well, because if there is a cessation of rains, we might not be able to get the best yield possible from those. So climate change is a very, very important factor. It's a threat factor to food security. But insecurity, I tended to be clouded by insecurity, because the farmers are not even able to go to the farm. In my village, I come from the southernmost part of Katsina State, where it's almost the epicenter of this banditry and kidnapping. 2 kilometers from the center of my local government headquarters, westwards, no farmer can go to their farm. I also have a farm about 1,000 hectares and near that vicinity, and 3 years now I've not been able to go there, because people go there and don't come back. Some are abducted for ransom, some are outrightly killed. In fact, funny enough, in some areas, our farmers get into agreements with the bandits, pay some money for them to be able to use their farmlands. So this is why, this issue of insecurity tended to dominate my discussion.
It really does, absolutely.
Yes, yes.
I want to know if Afan is working with any market actors to help integrate smallholder farmers into larger value chains in Nigeria, across the region perhaps, and facilitate access to particular
the managing director of FX is here, and I'm sure his testimony will show that he's working with farmers to help them to get market, because market is very, very important to the small farmer holder. At this time, and maybe in 2-3 months, the farmers will sell off what they have produced in excess. Some of them will marry off their daughters, and their children may get married, and they have to do many things for themselves. And a good market is very, very important. So FX will give that testimony. Our farmers are there, and there are so many other people who are doing a lot of things to help the farmers and to do agribusiness with our farmers. FX will tell you about Bangona, and there are many others who are really working with farmers to facilitate this possibility. The other thing that we want to do is to really appeal to everybody, the farmers especially, to embrace technology, because we have seen that technology makes our yields much, much higher than we are used to. In some areas where we are used to getting 2 tons, the adoption of technology takes us to maybe achieving 4.5 to even 5 tons. The choice of seeds and not grains. Our farmers should be taught not to plant grains. They should look for seeds and plant them. And even the spacing of plantation of what they plant is very important. The fertilizer type. In fact, we are looking forward to a situation where we will be able to get crop-specific fertilizers, soil-specific fertilizers. And of course, almost all the farmers in Nigeria know also that they have to use inorganic fertilizer, because so many of them cannot have enough of organic fertilizer from the droppings of their animals. But we want to be able to use farm waste as farmyard manure, and also for generation of power, to be able to meet up some of the efficiencies of power, because our problem is really, really elongating the life of our produce, our crops. Also, because we have a lot of post-harvest loss due to this kind of thing, spoilage of what we produce and all that. So the work that AGRA is doing is very, very important for us, because one, it takes us out of poverty. We just used to, before AGRA came into the Kaduna State and Niger State, the small farmers were mainly doing subsistence farming. But since they are able to now almost double their productivity, they can now use the surplus to do brisk business. So in time, they will simply get out of poverty and become rich, and we will be going to our farms on our helicopters, if not our cars.
And much easier.
And again, there are technologies also that we embrace as AFAN. Even though with some difficulty, we are getting into GM crops. We are embracing GMO because we have attended conferences and we have been shown by good science that there is really no nexus between disease and GM crops. So we are even encouraging them to do that. Not if people are so fearful of the crops that we eat, let them do it on the commercial crops like cotton and things like that. We have also associated with so many scientists who are doing a lot of good work on some crops. If you take in Zaria, they worked on pod borer resistant cowpea, which will help the farmers to bridge the deficit in beans. Even in Nigeria, we have a deficit of about 500,000 metric tons. If we're able to close that gap, and also use good science to even use this cowpea to replace or to augment the use of other things like corn, which animal, poultry, for instance, poultry owners and large ruminants use. Because the scientific evidence we have is that this cowpea has the potential of both energy and protein. So it could easily be, I don't know, I'm not an expert in that, I'm an architect, but I'm interested. I was president of poultry for 5 years in Nigeria, and I know the problem that the poultry farmers go through. It's possible that we also get formulae of food, feed formulation that will now replace soya and maize, and use pod borer cowpea, which we will be able to produce in very high quanta. So
Exactly.
largely what the farmers would require is more exposure to technology.
Fantastic.
You know,
let us come back then. Let us come back to that issue in the question and answer session, because I know people want to ask you specific questions on that. And as you say, the surpluses built up when you can go from 2 tons a hectare to 4.5 tons a hectare. They do allow you then to start to integrate into these value chains. And as you said, we have with us Mr. Ayodeji Balogun, CEO of AFEX, the commodities exchange in Nigeria. Maybe, Mr. Balogun, if we can talk a little bit about this idea of value chain upgrading and how to bring smallholders into these markets. How did AFEX come about, and how do you intervene in commodity trading in Nigeria?
Thank you for having me. It's indeed a pleasure, and it is an honor speaking after who I like to call the President General of all farmers in Nigeria.
Thank you, Adit. Thank you.
We often say that if all farmers were a state, architect Kabir will be the biggest governor in the country. We have 35 million citizens. Yeah, I mean, the issue of markets, if you look at, and this is not just peculiar to agriculture, in every system, your revenue point is what makes the business survive. I always say the market functions like the arts in the body. The ability of it to take the blood that has gone through incomplete circulation, clean it and pump it back into the system, makes the body to continue to work. And when you have a functional market access, it allows that flow, cleaning of the money, creating the value and putting the value back to the hands of the farmer to reinvest. When you have a market system that is dysfunctional, either from a point of price discovery, from a point of liquidity, or from a point of efficiency, then you have a problem with the art, in the value chain. And it means that when value is created, it gets lost at the point of the market access. And that reduces the investment into the new round. And when the farmer can't reinvest, then he is not encouraged. And that's where you then have them moving back into subsistence. And then it goes into all the SDG issues that we have around why we have poor farmers. So fixing market systems in the ways that they're scalable, they're efficient, they're transparent is at the heart of who we are and what we do at AFEX. Only primarily in Nigeria now, but we will plan to scale up to other countries within the continent. How it came about was around a number of our principal investors trying to solve the problem of how can smallholder farmers access capital, both for production, but also post-harvest. When they have their commodities, they can put it in a warehouse, get a warehouse receipt, and get a loan if they choose not to sell. And how can we ensure that they have access to market? And these 3 problems of capital, storage, and market access has been how we've woven solutions around. Today, we work with over 250,000 smallholder farmers across 22 states in the country. We just completed a program with Agra in Kaduna State, which architect also mentioned about. We worked with 90,000 farmers, connected them to markets. 45,000 of those farmers got loans through us to increase production. About 75,000 of them were able to double their savings. And all of them actually started to earn above the index, the poverty index of the country. Their earnings were above the national poverty line. And these are some of the things that we're proud of in the work we do, and we continue to see how we will scale it.
Do you aggregate farmers into cooperatives? Because the bandwidth it requires to finance an individual farmer is not the same as if you can aggregate them into 100 farmers or 50 farmers.
Yeah, no, and we've seen this in our work across Africa. I mean, we have a sister company in East Africa as well, and different practices, different country. Even within a country like Nigeria, from the north to the south, you see different levels of corporate governance at the cooperative level. In some instances, they are quite strong. I've seen cooperatives of over 2,000 members in East Africa, and then they all transact at the block. In Nigeria, unfortunately, transactions are individual. So every farmer wants to trade by himself and get paid by himself. Even by the time you get to the south, the husband and the wife will not sell on the same account. They will do transactions separately. But what we tend to do is that we ensure that we reach them, we educate them, we organize them in groups. A lot of them exist by the work that AFAN, other crop value chain associations, or other development partners have done, or we just need to bring in that commercial efficiency, bring in technology tools that allow us to be able to track the number of times they meet, the records of their meetings, what the issues are, and then we can systematically find solutions for. Then we engage them into groups. They have cross guarantees amongst themselves, and then get some sponsors within the community to also guarantee them in case of defaults. And we then take about 1,000 of these farmers into one syndicate. We create commercial paper type notes on the back of that, and then we use that to raise financing from the capital markets.
And how has that really improved, market access and crop yields and incomes? Do you have any concrete examples you can share?
Yeah, so I mean, there are quite a lot. So first, fundamentally, when you train a farmer on our best agronomy practices, what to do, you do the demo plots, but you cannot put the capital, the capacity to buy what it needs to farm. I always liken it to a government that gives me education but gives me no job. Why did I go to school in the first instance? So first being able to access loans and give farmers loans. Today, I think year to date, we've given about 150,000 hectares worth of loans to farmers through our system. That allows them to then practice what you've taught them. So it's not just a bundle of knowledge, it's actually the capacity to get the right seeds, the right CPPs, the right fertilizer blends for the location, and then they can practice, and then they can see their peers as well. So wherever they are making a mistake, they see members of their group, and then they can learn and teach themselves. So that's one. Yields go up 2 times. What we see is that by the second to the third year, depending on the group, from their savings, they get enough land to then start to cultivate their primary land by themselves, and then they take a loan for an extension plot. So by year 2 to 3, they've moved from 1.5 hectare into 3 to 4 hectares. And at that time, they start to earn, quite about $2,000 to $3,000 per annum, which is quite good and where you want them to be, rather than just earning $400-500 in a year. And then when there's any economic shock or any climate-induced stress, they fall back into the poverty cycle. They spend out all their savings, and then they're back and to start all over again.
Fantastic. Well, stay with us because we will come back to you in the Q&A. But I wanted to get the perspective from Ghana now, from Professor Eric Dankwa, who's the director of the West Africa Center for Crop Improvement. Professor Dankwa, we've heard about some of the broad challenges which are faced by farmers, be it insecurity, particularly in Nigeria in the north, be it through the difficulties of climate change and how that's affecting planting patterns, and then some of the the benefits of integrating farmers into these value chains via commodity exchanges and others. But at its heart, farming is, putting seeds in the ground, and anything that can be done to improve those seeds. And obviously, Africa is not just one country. It is 54 countries. And whereas in India, for example, you could have a single intervention that would work across a very monotonous agroecological zone, Africa is hundreds, if not thousands, of agroecological zones. And so the role of those who work on seeds and strengthening seed systems is critical. Tell us a little bit about how WACI is strengthening seed systems and how you work with other actors to really help catalyze this transformation in seed systems in West Africa.
Thank you, Nicholas. I would like to first thank the organizers of this forum for the opportunity to speak at this important forum. I just want to first submit that we are racing against time in the sub-region to eliminate hunger and malnutrition in a region that is growing and changing in a very troubling manner. If you look at the numbers, you find that by 2030, West Africa alone will have about 100 million additional mouths to feed by 2030. And we also know that the situation may get worse if we don't take urgent and unprecedented action. Talking about seed systems, I think we first have to recognize those on whose shoulders the responsibility of developing resilient, nutritious, market-driven, and productive varieties fall. That is the plant breeders. The West Africa Center for Crop Improvement is only 14 years old. And I can say that in 14 years, we have shown that Africa can take its future in its hands. In 14 years, the West Africa Center for Crop Improvement has turned out 95 PhD holders in 14 countries in Africa. 87 of these students come from West Africa, Burkina Faso, Cameroon, Ghana, Nigeria, Niger, Sierra Leone, Senegal, and Togo. These students, 95 alumni of the West Africa Center for Crop Improvement, have developed and released over 160 improved varieties of staple crops, some of which have been accessed by farmers and are being used in farmers' fields. Our students have also generated over 200 articles for high-impact journals and given visibility to the center, which is very crucial to the sustainability of the center. And more important, if you look at the research institutions from which the students come, you'd find that in total, they have, if you like, attracted over $35 million to their institutions. This is the value of plant breeding education. Our graduates have become game changers and history makers in their institutions. When you look at the West Africa Center for Crop Improvement itself in our research, we have released 3 maize hybrid varieties which give between 9 and 11 tons per hectare. These varieties are currently being scaled up in collaboration with the private sector for use by farmers. WACI has also played a leadership role in an early generation seed consortium, which is being funded by the Alliance for a Green Revolution in Africa, which comprises the Crop Research Institute of Ghana, the largest institution with the mandate to develop and release crops for the country. We have also partnered with the Savannah Agricultural Research Institute in Tamale, also one of the notable institutes for, if you like, development and release of varieties. We are also partnering with the Integrated Water and Agricultural Development Ghana Limited company, which is situated in the northern part of Ghana, and the Legacy Crop Improvement Center. Together, we comprise the Early Generation Seed Consortium currently being funded under the Ghana Inclusive Agricultural Transformation Program under the PIATA. I would say that in the next year, we hope to generate over 115 metric tons of 4 crops, varieties of 4 crops: maize, cowpea, granules, and soybean. These improved seed will fall in the hands of a certified seed consortium to take it forward in the value chain, in the scaling up of the varieties. So we believe that farmers are going to access these varieties in a year. The West Africa Center for Crop Improvement has also taken a leadership role in developing new varieties of tomato. You know, tomato is a crop which gives Africa a very sad story. Ghana imports over 100 million of fresh tomato from Burkina Faso. This is ludicrous. And so in collaboration with the World Vegetable Center, the West Africa Center for Crop Improvement is about to release 3 hybrid tomato varieties which yield between 48 and 50 tons per hectare. Already we are talking to a new private tomato processing company, which is going to, in fact, launch an outgrower scheme so that the varieties, when released, will be accessed by farmers, which will feed this factory. I think this is great that we are partnering with a number of, if you like, actors to take forward what we are doing at the West Africa Center for Crop Improvement. Additionally, under a project funded by the African Union Commission, which is a $1 million project, we are working with alumni in 4 countries, 4 alumni, in Burkina Faso, in Ghana, in Nigeria, working on 4 crops: tomato, cowpea, rice, and maize. What we are doing is we are working on increasing the productivity of these crops for farmers, and we have launched a value chain approach, equipping farmers with the knowledge and skills which allow them to improve their productivity in their fields. And this is yielding great dividends in farmers' fields, as a number of them have been able to, if you like, access good seed, rice, maize, cowpea, and tomato. So in brief, we are working with public-private partners to take what we are doing forward. Apart from, if you like, the success story, the graduates that we have turned out is unprecedented in plant breeding education globally. And this is, for me, a record that I think what you should take forward.
And how would you accelerate the take-up of your newly developed varieties? I mean, what would it take, to get those into the hands of farmers if you wanted to do times 10 what you are doing now?
Very good. In fact, we are improving our facilities at the West Africa Center for Crop Improvement. We hope to be able to develop our fields so that we also look at, if you like, developing foundation seeds. But more important, integral in our project is, if you like, farmer field schools. Farmers in Africa are smart. I mean, they will throw your varieties away if they don't find them meeting their demands. And so what we do is that we go to farmers' farms, we demonstrate the value of our varieties, we bring them on board to look at our fields. And so through, if you like, education of farmers, we are getting a number of farmers to yearn for our varieties. So they are asking, when can we get hold of your varieties? Because they know they are good. I believe that with massive education of farmers across the regions in this country, we believe that in the next couple of years, if we are able to scale up properly, about 40% of maize farmers will be using our varieties, which are the varieties that they must be using.
Thank you very much. Do stick around, because we have a couple of questions for you which have come up in the chat, particularly on access to 10 tons per hectare corn. But I'd like to turn to Mr. Seth Osei Akoto, who's the Director for Crop Services, the Ministry for Food and Agriculture in Ghana, who obviously is very familiar with your work. And his keynote will be on the agricultural transformation agenda in Ghana. Mr. Akoto, you have the floor.
Good morning, all the participants assembled this morning. And also I'm using the opportunity to thank you for having invited me to be part of this forum, and also to let our farmers know, farmers in West Africa know what we are doing in Ghana as far as agriculture is concerned. First and foremost, the vision of the government for the agriculture sector is to modernize agriculture, community in a structurally transformed economy, and that is evident in food security, employment opportunities, and reduce poverty. That is the vision. And the Ministry of Food and Agriculture is promoting agriculture and promoting sustainable agriculture, agribusiness through research and technology development, and also having effective extension and other support services to producers, processors, traders, consumers for improved food security, nutrition, and incomes. So that is our core mandate. Through the mandate, you have come out with 6 broad objectives, and these include food security and emergency preparedness, improve growth in incomes, increase competitiveness, and enhance integration into local and international markets, sustainable management of the land and environment, science and technology application, and lastly, improve coordination, improve institutional coordination. So this, having looked at the mandate, these are the broad objectives that we have set for ourselves. And out of these objectives, we have also come up with specific interventions. The specific intervention, the broader picture or name that we are giving to the specific objective is planting for food and jobs. And under the planting for food and jobs, we have 5 models under the planting for food and jobs. The first one has to do with the food crops model. And the food crops model, basically, we are giving improved seeds and fertilizers to our smallholder farmers as subsidy. And I can tell you that we have made some strides in terms of the implementation of the food crops model. Then the second aspect of planting for food has to do with tree crop development. And that is what we call planting for export and rural development. Under this model, we are also giving improved planting materials, that's tree crop planting materials, to our smallholder farmers to expand and intensify their cultivation. And we are hoping that through this program, we'll be able to diversify our economy and bringing on board 6 tree crops, namely cashew, rubber, oil palm, shea, coconut, that will also bring in additional income to support what we are getting from cocoa. The next model is rearing for food and jobs, and that's a livestock component of that. And there we are giving, supporting the poultry and livestock farmers with improved breeds. And that also augment what we are doing to ensure we get protein to support the populace. And then we have the greenhouse technology, and that also has to do with the vegetables promotion. We are importing a lot of vegetables into the country, but as part of our transformation program, we have introduced greenhouses. And the greenhouses, we have set up greenhouses villages where a lot of greenhouses are being managed by individuals, private sector entities, and even some students that we have trained to be able to take care of this to produce vegetables that can be consumed locally and then for the export market. And then the last one is the mechanization model. There, we are giving plant units to our equipment that have been imported to set up equipment centers where farmers need access to machinery. They can go there to access machinery to support agriculture. With these programs, we have other complementary programs as part of our transformation program. And these include, one, retooling extension services to play a role between the research and our smallholder farmers. And we have beefed up the numbers and we have reduced farmer extension ratio significantly under this. Then also provision of warehouses. We realize that the productivity increases that we are getting from the implementation of food cross model, we need to have additional warehouses that can take care of this. And then the ministry has rolled out about 80,000 metric tons warehouses that are scattered over the country. Then also, we are also rehabilitating our irrigation and then expanding the government irrigation systems. And this is on course. So we have come out to expand area and irrigation facilities in the country. And then lastly, we are also making sure with the advent of, for example, fall armyworm into the agricultural landscape, you are also making sure you provide insecticides that are given to smallholders to support the program. And lastly, under the government program of one district, one factory, the ministry is also playing a key role in provision of raw materials to link up with these factories that we assume will be able to absorb and then create a number of opportunities for the teeming youth that are all over the country. So basically, these are the key interventions that you have rolled out as a country to transform the agriculture landscape.
Thank you very much, Mr. Okota, for that overview of Ghana's agricultural transformation agenda. Stay on the line. We will come back to you with a question shortly. I'd like to kick off this question and answer session with a question for Architect Kabir from Tajuddin Yahaya, who works for a private extension system in Nigeria. Mr. Ibrahim, what's being done to address the issue of loan recovery in Nigeria, which Mr. Yahaya says is hurting agricultural financing in the country?
Well, we have just come from a workshop organized by NASAL. NASAL is an outfit created in 2013 in Nigeria with adequate funding to de-risk lending to farmers. It is obvious from all the efforts that we have made in agri lending in Nigeria that there should be improvement in the manner in which these loans are given. You need to pre-qualify a farmer, be sure that his operations are bankable, teach the farmer how to keep records and use technology, as we just mentioned. AGRA is availing to the smallholder farmers to be able to produce optimally so that they will eat from there as well as pay borrowed monies. Now, the one that is topical is the loan that the farmers are getting through the ANCO borrower scheme of the CBN. We have faulted the methodology of these loans because, as often we are saying that these farmers are not even reached through us. And we are also saying that some of these farmers are really not the real farmers. These people are people who know people, and they get these loans because they know people or their leaders know people, and these monies are paid through them. So invariably, the monies that that are borrowed are misapplied, and the farmers are getting a bad name. But from the work that some consultants are doing now for NASA, we believe that these things will change. But even though I mentioned there that it's an effort a bit late in coming.
Thank you very much for that response.
If you allow me, I'd love to weigh in on the issue of farmers repayment. Thank you. And I think so. We do, like I mentioned, we do lend to work with over 250,000 farmers, and we lend to over 100,000 of them. And our repayment rates are between 96 to 98%.
Can you hear me? The farmers have many challenges in paying back, especially because of the technologies that or archaic methods of production that we have had. But now we are lucky with the technologies coming in. We'll be able to upscale our production and be able to pay back monies that are borrowed. And then especially because our population is very high, whoever gets the loan must be able to pay back so that the loan package revolves for others to get. Otherwise, it simply dies down. And we encourage people to do agriculture as a business, not just subsistence. All the things that apply in your shop, if you open a shop to sell your merchandise, all those records that you keep of the merchandise are replenishing of the stock and all that should also apply to agriculture, so that nobody thinks that they are giving money to do as from government. Government itself does not give loan. It's an enabling environment for agriculture to thrive. The funding or financing in Nigeria that the CBN has intervened to do is colossal. This year alone, the CBN is saying that it has disbursed about 756 billion naira to about 3 million farmers. That's a lot of money. And our people should learn to pay back. The CBN should learn to give the correct farmers and should be able to give these farmers through AFAN. So, because AFAN will know the farmers, will give you the coordinates of their farms, their locations, and then you will get back your money. But unfortunately, right now, what is happening is that some of the farmers are not even known. You can't trace them. So this is why it's in the public domain that farmers do not pay, and that is a very
I'm afraid we have lost you
unfair
there.
to the reality of the farm now. Hello, can you hear me now?
We can hear you now, yes.
Okay, you see, the loan package from CBN and many other windows that are in the public domain are going to about 2 million farmers. In Nigeria, there was a minister who was talking about GS, that people could get fertilizer through their wallets and all that. He was able to have a data for about 14.5 million farmers. In my office, from the compendium that we get from all the chapters, we have data, but it may be loose without the necessary coordinates and all that, of almost 40 million farmers. So if you give loan to just 2 million out of 40 million, that is a very far cry from what is really required. But
so it does.
Even those 2 million, we are saying that they are not real farmers. You have to do due diligence to really get to the real farmer.
Absolutely.
Because the real farmer knows that he needs even his children to benefit from his activities. So he will pay back. But if you give a person who doesn't care about farming, is only using that possibility for to borrow money, maybe to buy a car or build a house or get married or something like that, certainly they will not pay back.
Absolutely. It does seem that there is a huge need for technology, perhaps, to help in the identification and the classification of farmers who are there. You mentioned you have 40 million farmers on file. There has been work, trying to use blockchain technology or distributed ledger technology. I think maybe there's some work to be done from the banking sector in terms of compiling
yes,
proper databases.
I would like to inform you that AFAN has just signed up an MOA with a company called Afredeco that is going to really do this data capture for all the farmers in Nigeria free of charge, because the World Bank has allocated the sum of $433 million to NIMSI, that is the Nigeria Identity Management Council, and farmers are included. They are going to capture about 150 million people, and farmers are included. So very soon we will have that data. And once that data is available, if you give credit, you know to whom it is going and what their competence is, and they must have justified taking the loan and to pay. But before that, we will have these problems as mentioned by Tajuddin.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. I wonder if Professor Dankwa, are you still with us? I have some questions for you on how to get hands on high yield varietals.
Okay.
In particular, one question on where can they access corn, which will deliver 10 tons per hectare, and also a question about whether the WACCI is active in Mali. Someone who wants to get hold of those 3 varieties of hybrid tomato.
Good. Thank you very much, Nicholas. I wonder where the questioner is. If he's in Ghana, I would submit that he contacts the Legacy Crop Improvement Center. We are working in collaboration with them to take our maize hybrids to farmers. We recently got support from AGRA to scale up. What the Legacy Crop Improvement Center tell me is that already the maize hybrids which give 10 tons per hectare have been accessed by over 500 farmers in this country. We are hoping that in the next year, about 4,000 farmers will access the varieties, and of course, it will increase their productivity in the fields. What we have done is we have proven the concept, even in harsh environments. In Tamale, in the northern part of Ghana, these maize hybrids are giving us over 6 tons per hectare. And I think these are varieties that should get government to rush to Waki to work with us to scale up our maize hybrids so that every farmer can access our maize hybrids. Your second question was on tomato. I'm happy that the director of the Department of Crop Services is online. He's the chairperson of the National Varietal Release and Registration Committee. He can attest to this. He came to Waki himself with the entire committee. They visited our fields and they have approved the hybrids for release, but it's a process. So we are asking the government to, as a matter of urgency, facilitate the release of the hybrids so that farmers can access the varieties. You have to go through the process. So we are waiting for them to be finally released and registered in Ghana. For Mali, I think once it's released in Ghana, because of the seed laws, I think it permits us to, of course, get them released in Mali as well. And so they should get them in Mali following due processes. And we'll work on that with our partners.
Thank you very much. Mr. Akoto, you may see me coming with my next question, but I'd like to build on what Professor Danko was saying and ask, when will these tomato varieties be released? You know, there of course is a process. They can't be done just like that. So it'd be great to understand that process and to understand the timeline. And we also have another question from Dr. Rebecca Masterton, who asks more generally about the effect of technology on the quality of produce. She believes that today in countries outside of Africa, we have food which has very little nutrients and no taste, and asks whether Africa risks going in the same direction. So if you could answer the hybrid question and then perhaps speak to this broader concern. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nicholas. I will take it from where Professor Dankwa ended. In Ghana, as part of the processes of release of varieties, the government has put in place a committee called National Variety Release and Registration Committee, with members drawn out from the universities and academia and then other research institutions, plus the private sector entities. So this committee has a primary responsibility to ascertain that varieties are released based upon procedures that we have set for ourselves. This particular instance, we had an invitation from Professor Dankwa and his team from WACI, University of Ghana, Legon, to see whether we can support them to release these varieties. Truly speaking, the committee members went out to look at both to the field and come back to listen to their presentation with respect to the release. At the end of the day, the committee decided to approve some of the varieties that they exhibited on the field. The next step is that my committee will recommend to the National Seed Council. And then the Seed Council will issue a communique. And after the communique, the variety is gazetted and is recorded in the National Variety Registration. That is the procedures. But where you are now, the committee has recommended to National Seed Council. But unfortunately for us, what is delaying the process is that government hasn't come back to constitute National Seed Council. And the Ministry of Food and Agriculture is working on the membership of the new council. And as soon as they are ready, those documentation will be forwarded to the National Seed Council to set the processes of releasing those varieties to farmers. So that is where you are. Then the second issue has to do with the quality of seeds or varieties of seeds that are being given to farmers. Yes, of course, you have taken the recognizance from the fact that not all seeds or food crops that have the requisite nutrients. So we are working the research institutions to do biofortification by adding beta carotenes and other proteins into the seeds that we are releasing. And in Ghana, I can tell you that we have maize that have fortified with additional nutrients. We have cassavas that have also been fortified with additional nutrients, and also orange fresh sweet potato that also have been fortified with additional nutrients to improve the quality of the food that are being given to the populace. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to come back to Mr. Balogun of AFEX. We didn't quite complete the discussion we were having about farmers and payment. I just wanted to tack onto that this idea of how we might connect smallholders to the requirements of big corporations in the agribusiness value chain. For example, brewers who require sugar, who require other inputs on a very regular basis, and other big agribusiness players. What role for AFIX in helping link up that clear market demand to the smallholder farmers that you deal with?
Thank you very much. So, I was touching on financing, and so my view is that any financial institution, and I always like to parallel agriculture with other sectors, is that if you had any fund entity, a finance house or a microfinance bank, and you give anybody, even a salary learner, a loan, and you sat in your bank office in the city, and he just did business and you didn't do any follow-up on a weekly or monthly basis, then very most likely the farmer will default, or the borrower, the obligor will default, regardless of the type of borrower. And I think it's the same issue when it comes to agricultural financing. When associations, when institutions that do not have a very strong capacity to follow up, they don't have the operational frameworks and the branches and the people power to do the follow-ups and the direct continuous engagement with the farmer groups, you tend to see a very huge default. If you look at how we operate at FX, and we have between 96 to 98% default rates, you will tie it to first the selection process for the farmers in the first place, which is where most of the programs that is being referred to, particularly in Nigeria, fails. The second is the type of insurance that you put in place. We have a very comprehensive climate-based area yield indexed multi-peril insurance scheme that covers for quite a number of the losses. And we ensure that both the loan disbursements and procuring the insurance are done right on time before the ends of the rain. So the products get into the farmer and then they can use it at the time that they can maximize the potential. The third is the ground support work. So today we have over 500 field extension officers, each of them working with about 400 farmers each, all of them on a payroll 12 months in a year. That's the kind of infrastructure that you need to make these programs work at scale. Technology would help. Technology would give you visibility and allow you to gather data, be able to track things real time. But technology will not replace the role of somebody following up, knocking on the door and asking for the money and when it will be repaid. So that's the first half on the financing that I wanted to chip in. On the area of market linkages and being able to connect our value chain. So, I mean, again, when you look at agriculture, for the most part of Africa and Nigeria, to be precise, the trend on agriculture started failing around the mid-80s when we had the collapse of almost all the marketing boards in the corporation. And what happened just before then was the whole Gulf, the wealth from the Gulf, regime and the whole wealth, and then that whole spree, spending spree that governments went into, and then the whole economic theory that we all know. But then since the marketing boards went out, everything in agriculture, everything agricultural exports, for instance, Nigeria used to contribute 28% of global peanut trade. Today, it does almost nothing. Same for oil palm and same for other commodities as well. What went missing is a central infrastructure that connects the trade and organizes the trade. It tells the farmer what to produce, what variety the market needs, is a fair price arbiter, and then ensures immediate settlement to the farmer. On the other side of that, it coordinates with the buyers, local or international, agrees contractual obligations upfront, gets fair, decent prices, makes a margin, and then nets off the difference between the two. Now, since that collapsed, you then had a market with extremely fragmented, unstructured, and illiquid middle players that pretty much just play arbitrage and still provide storage, still provide intermediary services, but not in an organized, transparent way that can support planning and coordination. And that's been at the core of the demise of our agricultural ecosystem. I see commodities exchange as a critical way to fix this. So today, all the top 5 value chains that use grains in the country. We do serve most of the top 10 and the tier 1 and tier 2 buyers, Olam flour mills, Nigeria breweries, the HGO, the export markets. We work in 8 different value chains: maize, soybean, sorghum, paddy rice, sesame, dried ginger, cocoa, and we organize this market in the best way we can, ensuring that demand is predictable, ensuring that the farmers can get paid the following morning or same day where possible, ensuring that price discovery mechanism is transparent. We publish price data across all the dailies and on TV weekly to ensure that everybody sees what's going on. We publish both the exchange traded prices as well as the parallel market prices. We track over 200 market prices across the country and then report those prices for everybody to know what's going on. That is on the heart of how you organize a market. It is the way everybody in the world trades. Nobody, buys cocoa in the world or buys rice or wheat in the world by going into a farm market and then filling up a truck and then filling up 10 trucks. You go into an exchange, you place a futures contract, it gets fulfilled, and that's how, and that's where we really need to get the continent to.
Thank you so much, Mr. Balin, for that response. I'd like to thank all of our participants in this first panel. We've had extremely interesting interventions from all of you, so thank you very much. I'd like to also thank Dr. Ndiame for his comments earlier on, and would like to bring this first part of the West African Farmers Forum to a close here. We will be starting again at 11:25 GMT for our second panel. Ce sera en français. It will be in French for this second panel. You will have interpretation services available at the bottom of your screen. Thank you again for listening, and we will see you shortly.
Right.
Oui. Oui, je suis en train de le faire là. OK, merci.
Bonjour à tous et bienvenue dans la deuxième partie du Forum ouest-africain des agriculteurs organisé par l'AGRA. En partenariat avec Jeune Afrique et The Africa Report. Nous allons maintenant attaquer un deuxième panel qui est consacré en fait à la productivité des agriculteurs et à la transformation de l'agriculture en Afrique de l'Ouest, dans lequel nous aurons différents intervenants que je vais présenter juste après. Et avant ça, nous voulions repasser la parole à monsieur professeur Eric Dankwa, qui est directeur du West Africa Center for Crop Improvement et qui avait une déclaration à nous faire. So I will do it in English just for for Professor Dankwa. So welcome to this second part of the West Africa Farmers Forum. Before starting the second panel in French with our panelists, I will give the floor to Professor Dankwa, who's director at the West Africa Center for Crop Improvement. Mr. Dankwa has a short declaration that he wants to make during this session. Please, Mr. Dankwa, I'll give you the floor.
Bonjour, Grand Patron, and thank you very much for giving me the floor for a few minutes. Before I say a few words on declaration, I would like to make a comment on the use of modern technology. And it is that until we learn in Africa how to take informed decisions on the basis of evidence, we cannot take Africa to the next level. We need to use evidence for decision making. We know that genetically modified foods are safe. What is different is that the method that is used to develop them are different. Nonetheless, the end product is the same as the end product that you'd get if you used any other method. And because they are safe and they have huge benefits for sustainable agriculture, it's important that Africa embraces technology. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, when you look at ECOWAS, the Economic Community of West African States, we find that on the basis of evidence, we cannot transform our economies until we transform our agriculture, until we transform food systems. One, because agriculture remains a major backbone of our economies. And in this regard, we acknowledge the contributions of all the development partners and national governments for their commitment to agricultural transformation in the sub-region. We wish to, at the West Africa Center for Crop Improvement, acknowledge the Partnership for Inclusive Agricultural Transformation in Africa, the PIATA for the investments in early generation seed and certified seed consortium. This is what governments in ECOWAS must be doing. It is all about investments in the value chain, and we don't have any other choice. When you look at the Alliance for a Green Revolution in Africa, AGRA has made over $11.5 million in the West Africa Center for Crop Improvement. What we have done is to more than treble the investments in WAKI that's made by AGRA. That is why we have been able to do all that we have done in the past 14 years. We have made significant progress, and the outputs and outcomes are good. But I dare say that if we truncate, if we stop capacity building programs, we would have automatically stopped the African Green Revolution at a point in time. We all know the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic in the world today. They call for urgent and unprecedented action. And we envision a sub-region which would be, if you like, food secure by 2030. It means that we want to do business unusual. It is on behalf of the West Africa Center for Crop Improvement and the plant breeders of West Africa that we wish to humbly submit the following. First, it is unlikely that there will be another Norman Borlaug to lift millions of people out of hunger and poverty. It is the work of a critical mass of plant breeders in every nation in the ECOWAS that will put food on the tables in every home for the over 500 million people that will populate the region by 2030. And so every effort should be made to take capacity building efforts for plant breeding to the next level by strengthening centers of excellence like WACI and build them into super world-class institutions. Well-trained plant breeders are needed for every staple crop in every agroecology in every country for a functional seed system. It is the well-trained scientists who will champion the improved varieties to increase adoption by resource-poor farmers for increased farm productivity. Second, we call for investments in the seed systems for the design and development of improved varieties with inbuilt resilience against biological and physical stresses, which would drive the agricultural transformation agenda. We need to ensure that the scientists working in the National Agricultural Research Institutions use modern technology to efficiently and effectively develop and release resilient, nutritious, and productive market-driven varieties. Third, we need to support the private sector-led seed production by creating an enabling environment to attract public-private partnerships to drive the development of agricultural value chains. We shall be nowhere near our goal of a food-secure sub-region if we continue to do business as usual. Let me conclude by saying that science will be crucial in every action that we take, and a research-driven strategy in collaboration with all who have a role to play in the process for us to get to where we want to get to will be crucial. We cannot get to our destination if we do not build centers of excellence that can stand their own anywhere in the world. I once said to a visiting Agra team led by Clive Masiyiwa himself and a former president of the Gates Foundation, that until we see outstanding students from all over the world applying to WACI to enroll on our plant breeding programs because they want to work on African crops, we will not stop what we are doing. We will continue to strive for excellence. And we want the day to come that our political leaders will understand that we can, of course, develop world-class institutions in Africa for Africa through investments, and our political leaders seek that African institutions in science and technology must be among the best in the world. Let them think about centers of excellence becoming the best in the world. That we think is the day that Africa will see the light, that Africa can dream about Agenda 2063, the Africa we want. Let us invest in the development of agriculture by building strong institutions, strong centers of excellence. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Dankwa, for this declaration. Et je vais donc revenir en français, just saying to the Anglophone participants that they can have the translation of this panel by clicking on the interpretation button and press English. Bonjour à tous à nouveau. Donc nous rebasculons en français après cette déclaration du professeur Dankwa. J'ai l'honneur d'accueillir pour ce deuxième panel qui est consacré aux solutions pour augmenter la productivité des agriculteurs et transformer l'agriculture en Afrique de l'Ouest, d'accueillir Monsieur Marc Gansoré, qui est donc à la tête de la Confédération paysanne du Faso et secrétaire général de la Fédération des professionnels agricoles du Burkina, Cissé Demba, qui est expert chez Amassa Afrique Verte, Henri Ilboudo, qui est directeur du Centre écologique Albert Schweitzer, et Youssef Ballo, qui est directeur général de Soprosec. Merci à tous les quatre de participer à ce panel dans le cadre du Forum ouest-africain des agriculteurs organisé par l'AGRA en partenariat avec Jeune Afrique et The Africa Report. La première question que je voulais poser s'adresse à Monsieur Marc Gansoré. Il y a une question récurrente concernant le développement de l'agriculture en Afrique en général. Question qui est très structurante, c'est l'accès aux facteurs de production, que ce soit l'eau, que ce soit les intrants de bonne qualité évidemment, et que ce soit le financement. C'est un sujet dont on a un peu parlé dans le premier panel. Quelles sont les perspectives d'amélioration en ce moment au Burkina Faso sur ces différents sujets d'accès aux facteurs de production importants? Monsieur Gansoré? Alors, Monsieur Gansoré, est-ce que vous m'entendez?
Vous m'entendez?
Oui, c'est parfait.
Merci.
Alors, mettre votre caméra aussi. Excusez-moi, Monsieur Gansoré, vous pouvez mettre votre caméra aussi qu'on vous voit.
Ok.
On vous entend en tout cas, on vous entend très bien. Vous pouvez y aller donc, au sujet de l'accès aux facteurs de production.
Merci. Alors, je disais que je vous remercie pour nous avoir conviés à participer à ce panel. Pour vous répondre d'abord question, il est utile quand même que vous compreniez quelles sont les actions aussi qui sont menées au niveau de l'organisation dans laquelle j'évolue, la Confédération paysanne du Paso, qui est une organisation, une plateforme de 15 organisations faîtières qui sont structurées autour des principales filières agricoles au Burkina Faso, telles que le céréal, le coton, le niébé, bétail, viande, lait local, produits forestiers non liés, pour ne citer que cela, avec vraiment un mandat d'être un cadre d'échange et de concertation pour les membres et d'assurer la défense des intérêts matériels et moraux et accompagner la professionnalisation des acteurs sur le plan, en tout cas, professionnel. Aujourd'hui, la Confédération développe et offre des services technico-économiques aux fédérations membres et à l'ensemble des producteurs burkinabés à travers les plaidoyers, en tout cas, qui sont faits vis-à-vis des pouvoirs gouvernementaux et des partenaires techniques et financiers. Alors, en ce qui concerne la question récurrente...
Merci beaucoup.
Voilà.
Je vous en prie.
La question de l'accès aux facteurs de production, terre, eau, intrants, matériel et financement se pose avec acuité au Burkina, à l'instar des autres pays d'Afrique de l'Ouest. Cependant, il faut reconnaître que des efforts, en tout cas, sont consentis par le gouvernement, les partenaires techniques et financiers, les organisations de producteurs. Et ça nous a amené effectivement à envisager des perspectives d'amélioration et qui aujourd'hui sont mis en œuvre. Alors, grâce aux efforts, en tout cas, du gouvernement et de ses partenaires, des grands chantiers de construction en ce qui concerne les ressources, des retenues d'eau ont été en tout cas réalisées. Je ne citerai que le Sourou, et Samadini, Bagré et Douna, qui ont des capacités de mobilisation de milliards de mètres cubes d'eau, en tout cas au bénéfice en soutien à l'agriculture. Concernant l'accès aux intrants, au matériel agricole de qualité, vous n'êtes pas sans savoir que depuis 2008, avec l'émeute de la faim, notre gouvernement a instauré un programme de subvention en intrants et matériel agricole. Alors, l'objectif de ce programme de subvention a débuté en 2008 comme un début. Et l'objectif, c'était d'accroître la production de façon globale, d'améliorer les systèmes de production afin de parvenir en tout cas à une grande productivité. Le mécanisme a connu effectivement un succès, on est tout à fait d'accord, mais il y a quand même des insuffisances en termes de ciblage des bénéficiaires et de retard dans la livraison des intrants et des matériels agricoles qui sont destinés aux producteurs. Alors, depuis 2019...
Excusez-moi, insuffisance, je vous interromps juste 2 secondes, insuffisance dans le ciblage, qu'est-ce que vous voulez dire par là? C'est-à-dire que les
ça veut dire que nous avions aujourd'hui un système de ciblage qui ne répond pas à la réalité. Parce que simplement, nous sommes partis du recensement général de la population qui a été réalisé pour extraire un certain nombre d'informations en lien avec la production pour identifier les producteurs bénéficiaires. Ça se trouve qu'il y a eu des erreurs dans le paramétrage où on a effectivement constaté qu'il y a un certain nombre de corps de métiers tels que ceux qui sont dans la médecine, ceux qui sont dans d'autres métiers tels que la mécanique, ont bénéficié de ces intrants, de ces matériels agricoles chose qui n'était pas effectivement prévue dans le processus, parce que c'était pour accompagner en tout cas une couche vulnérable, les jeunes, les femmes qui sont en difficulté effectivement de pouvoir se procurer des intrants et des matériels de qualité. Voilà, c'est là que je dis il y a eu en tout cas des insuffisances à ce niveau. Alors, mais l'innovation qui a été apportée, c'est une innovation qui vient en tout cas apporter un plus dans l'accompagnement des producteurs, parce que c'est un nouveau mécanisme électronique de distribution des intrants et des matériels. Et ce mécanisme a été expérimenté lors des campagnes précédentes, particulièrement 2019, 2020, 2020 et 2021 en cours. Alors, ces innovations proposées se fondent sur un certain nombre de raisons qui sont, d'abord, c'est la réduction des coûts d'approvisionnement, de la logistique de distribution, des délais de distribution et des malversations souvent observées lors de l'appui à la mise à disposition des engrais. C'est aussi un objectif de supprimer les étapes intermédiaires entre la chaîne de distribution et les bénéficiaires. C'est aussi un objectif d'améliorer l'accessibilité et garantir la qualité et la conformité des engrais et du matériel agricole proposé et d'améliorer le ciblage, chose qui n'a pas été en tout cas très effective à ce niveau, et proposer des intrants et matériels adaptés aux conditions agroécologiques. Nous avions plusieurs zones agroécologiques et en fonction de la texture du sol, il y a un certain nombre de matériels effectivement qui sont proposés, qui s'adaptent à cela. Alors, voilà des mécanismes effectivement qui nous avons voulu les maîtriser et permettre aux petits producteurs vulnérables d'avoir accès aux intrants, aux matériels de qualité à des prix subventionnés. Alors, par ailleurs, il faut reconnaître qu'à l'intérieur, il y a certaines organisations de producteurs que je pourrais citer comme exemple la Fédération des professionnels agricoles du Burkina, l'Union des coopératives de commercialisation des céréales de Dougou, l'Union nationale des producteurs de coton, qui ont développé à leur sein des mécanismes d'achat groupé des intrants. Et ces mécanismes sont souvent appuyés par des partenaires au développement. Alors, la FEPAB, par exemple, a bénéficié d'un appui de AGRA pour le développement de son mécanisme d'achat groupé en intrants. Et ça se fait en plusieurs étapes. Un dispositif, un mécanisme interne qui a été élaboré avec un schéma opérationnel qui consiste d'abord à identifier les volontaires qui veulent rentrer dans le processus, à les former sur l'intensification agricole, la reconnaissance des intrants de qualité, les finances rurales, la prospection commerciale. Ce sont des thématiques qui sont dispensées, en tout cas à travers des modules de formation. Le deuxième point, c'est relatif au recensement des besoins individuels en intrants à l'aide des fiches élaborées. Et chaque producteur et productrice exprime des besoins au niveau de leur organisation de base, qui est centralisée au niveau national, qui est consolidée à travers effectivement un atelier et pour la confirmation de ces besoins, avec une mise en relation avec les systèmes de financement décentralisés, les partenaires financiers et les fournisseurs d'intrants. Nous avions une grosse organisation, Agrodia, qui est une organisation d'importateurs et distributeurs d'intrants au niveau du Burkina. Le troisième point, ça consiste effectivement à accompagner à la négociation des conditions de prix, de paiement et des modalités de livraison. Vous savez qu'à un certain moment donné, au compte tenu de la diversité agroécologique et des distances, il y a ce souci effectivement de logistique et de mise à disposition de la proximité. Et ces échanges, ces négociations permettent aux producteurs et aux agro-dealers de pouvoir effectivement avoir des contrats de livraison à temps. Et il y a un point qui n'est pas à négliger, la mobilisation des fonds nécessaires. Les unions, aujourd'hui, lors de l'atelier de validation de leurs besoins, échangent avec les institutions de microfinance et qui négocient des financements pour la campagne. Et il y a effectivement des contrats qui sont signés entre contrats tripartites, fournisseurs d'intrants, institutions de microfinance et organisations de producteurs.
Merci beaucoup.
Alors, il y a...
Monsieur Gansori, j'ai une autre question, excusez-moi de vous interrompre, qui concerne une autre thématique, parce que là, on a eu un détail et on a bien compris la situation finalement d'accès aux facteurs de production était plutôt bonne au Burkina et qu'en tout cas, il y avait un certain nombre de points de progression que vous avez bien cités. Il y a un autre sujet qui est assez important, c'est finalement entre la production agricole et le marché et la vente, c'est la capacité finalement à assurer la conservation de la qualité des produits et éviter que dans la chaîne logistique, la chaîne de livraison, il y ait de la détérioration et que les produits n'arrivent pas dans un état correct. Qu'est-ce qui est fait au Burkina sur ces sujets et quels sont les mécanismes qui sont mis en place pour améliorer justement ce circuit entre le produit récolté et le marché final?
Oui, c'est quand même un point très important parce que de plus en plus, la demande est exigeante sur la qualité effectivement des produits mis sur le marché. Alors, cela a amené le gouvernement, nos partenaires et les organisations de producteurs à envisager les solutions suivantes. C'est d'abord accompagner à la réalisation d'un certain nombre d'infrastructures de stockage, de proximité au niveau des communes pour que les producteurs puissent effectivement faire les collectes à ce niveau. Il y a des formations qui sont dispensées pour reconnaître pour aller tendre vers la qualité du produit à partir, n'est-ce pas, de la production. Vous savez qu'aujourd'hui, la plaque-toxine est une toxine qui limite un peu la possibilité des organisations paysannes à vendre leurs produits parce qu'elle est infectée. Et il y a un certain nombre de solutions qui ont été apportées avec l'utilisation de la flash safe pour limiter effectivement ces contagions. Aujourd'hui, nous avions quand même un très grand espoir parce qu'un certain nombre de magasins sont construits d'une capacité de 5 000 tonnes à 50 tonnes au niveau des villages. Et ça fait que dans tous ces magasins, ces infrastructures qui sont réalisées, ça a été équipé de bascules, un certain nombre de matériel en tout cas qui nous amène à pouvoir être sûr de la qualité du produit que l'on met sur le marché. Voilà un certain nombre de points sur lesquels, effectivement, par rapport à la mobilisation, le stockage, la conservation des produits sont faits. Vous savez que de tous les produits, il y a un certain nombre de produits vraiment très périssables. Quand on prend, par exemple, le haricot aujourd'hui, nous avons eu, grâce même à Agra et à la recherche, pu disposer des sacs triple fond pour la conservation de ce produit qui est vraiment sujet à beaucoup d'attaques parasitaires. Et aujourd'hui, en tout cas, c'est vrai que tout n'est pas parfait, mais nous avions, en tout cas, sur l'ensemble du territoire du pays, on profite, n'est-ce pas, des infrastructures de la SONAGES, qui est une structure qui achète les produits auprès des producteurs pour faire un stock de sécurité au niveau national. Nous avions des partenariats avec le PAM qui nous accompagne aussi à la réalisation des infrastructures et des formations. Et je crois que, bon an, mal an, nous arrivons à faire en tout cas des stockages assez consistants et ça nous a permis de participer aux appels d'offres de ARA et au niveau national.
Merci beaucoup, c'était très clair. Merci Monsieur Gansori pour ces informations. Je voulais maintenant parler avec Monsieur Cissé Demba, qui est donc expert chez Amassa Afrique Verte, du sujet des centres d'agrégation. Donc au Mali, il existe des centres d'agrégation. Est-ce que vous pouvez déjà commencer par nous expliquer de manière précise de quoi il s'agit et comment ça fonctionne, Monsieur Cissé Demba?
Merci bien. Merci bien, M. Maury. Je remercie mes prédécesseurs qui ont fait des exposés. Je remercie tous les participants de ce forum.
Je remercie aussi les partenaires Agra pour vraiment votre contribution pour cette expérience. Donc, au regard de la thématique sur les centres d'agrégation, vous savez, le monde agricole reste confronté à d'énormes défis qui se posent pas seulement au Mali, mais comme vient de le dire M. Gamsouré, c'est un peu pour tous les pays de la sous-région. Les petits producteurs ont des contraintes qui sont pratiquement les mêmes. L'accès aux facteurs de production, l'accès au financement, etc. Donc, à travers le partenariat de Agra, qui a fait beaucoup d'investissements en matière agricole au Mali, nous avons conduit ensemble le projet Piata, qui a conduit à faire des innovations comme les agrégations. Donc, nous avions notifié quelques impacts majeurs de l'agrégation au niveau de la région de Sibou, a contribué en tout premier face aux contraintes et défis des petits produits à un renforcement des capacités de mobilisation des acteurs des chaînes de valeur agricoles à travers une adhésion massive des petits producteurs autour des centres de collecte à cause de la qualité des services rendus à travers l'agrégation. Parce que vous savez, il y avait des unions qui étaient d'abord là, des coopératives de base, mais qui généralement avaient des difficultés à répondre efficacement aux services des membres, donc qui se évoluaient aussi de façon isolée et unilatérale. Donc, avec les interventions des méthodologies de chaîne de valeur apportées par Agra, nous avons opté pour les principes d'agrégation où les interventions sont beaucoup plus inclusives. Il faut retenir dans le système une meilleure implication progressive des commerçants grossistes et des agro-industriels dans la collaboration avec les centres de collecte en vue d'une mobilisation des volumes importants des produits agricoles. Vous savez, M. Gamsole vient de le toucher, l'accès au marché, il y a les questions de qualité. Souvent, les acteurs ont des questions de qualité, des exigences sur les marchés. Nous avons l'implication massive des établissements financiers et des fournisseurs d'intrants, c'est même une méthodologie de risque. Bon, globalement, dans l'intervention, nous avons aujourd'hui, 69 000 petits producteurs et plus de 15 588 femmes impliquées dans le processus. Nous avons le secteur privé qui est là, nous avons un environnement institutionnel qui est vraiment favorable, des institutions de microfinance impliquées, un fournisseur d'intrants et 37 agrégataires jusque-là. Sur la conduite, sur l'accompagnement du projet, nous avons un élément majeur qui est le développement de la culture de contractualisation entre les acteurs, notamment les agrégés et les agrégatistes autour des filières agricoles, l'accessibilité et la disponibilité des facteurs de production à temps opportun et à des conditions soutenables, qui est vraiment une stratégie et une diversification des opportunités et des segments du marché d'écoulement des produits agricoles qui facilitent. Donc, nous avons comme élément majeur, comme impact, aujourd'hui, cette dynamique a contribué à améliorer beaucoup, à mettre une alternative à la contrainte liée au financement pour les petits exploitants agricoles, à travers des possibilités de financement direct des exploitations par les banques, les SFD, ainsi les avances, les intrants octroyés par l'agrégateur au profit des agrégés, et une stratégie de compétitivité sur la fluctuation des prix des intrants et des coûts de logistique de transport. Vous savez, même si l'intrant, vous savez, c'est des produits que nous importons dans nos pays, des producteurs étant juste dans les bassins de production, même si l'intrant est un prix abordable, il faut calculer les coûts de logistique. Et même pour la sortie des produits, pour la commercialisation, il faut tenir compte des coûts de logistique, etc., qui peuvent jouer sur la compétitivité. Mais dans la stratégie d'agrégation, il y a des mesures particulière pour assouplir ces conditions, Nous avions aussi une augmentation.
Monsieur, excusez-moi, je vous interromps juste 2 secondes, excusez-moi, monsieur Dembassi. On voit bien que ces centres d'agrégation ont un impact assez clair sur tous les sujets que vous venez de citer. Est-ce que ces centres ont atteint une viabilité économique qui permet de penser que ce projet est viable à moyen ou à long terme?
Oui, ces centres ont des viabilités économiques parce que aujourd'hui, malgré les défis et les contraintes que nous avions, qu'il y a aujourd'hui des opportunités de marché qui sont beaucoup rattachées à ces centres. On a des agrégateurs qui sont beaucoup motivés à collaborer avec ces centres. Et ces centres ont la latitude aujourd'hui d'avoir les facteurs de production à temps opportun. Et ils ont la confiance des établissements financiers à les financer. Donc, le nombre d'agrégés ne fait qu'accroître au niveau de ces centres, ce qui fait que dans une certaine mesure, la viabilité économique est là parce que les volumes commercialisables sont augmentés, les renforcements des capacités sont là par l'adoption des plans de qualité, les semences certifiées, les bonnes pratiques culturelles. Donc, nous pensons que ces centres sont viables et peuvent continuer à être des modèles durables sur lesquels l'État malien peut faire des propositions de réplication à travers tous les pays.
Ok, donc vous pensez que a priori, enfin, si le soutien de l'État est là, hein, c'est ce que vous dites, le modèle de ces centres d'agrégation peut être reproduit dans d'autres endroits au Mali et peut-être même en dehors du Mali.
Oui, bien sûr, c'est déjà là aujourd'hui, à travers les centres d'agrégation. Au niveau d'Amassa, nous avons des banques et des institutions de microfinance qui nous écrivent pour qu'on ait des partenariats sur la base des approches développées par AGRA. AGRA, dans les échanges de perspectives de durabilité, on est en train de voir comment des services d'encadrement privé de proximité peuvent naître dans ces bassins de production pour que la mise en échelle puisse être une réalité et que du fait que les centres de collecte l'État malien apporte aussi des parts intéressantes sur les achats institutionnels de l'État au profit des producteurs, ça va jusqu'à 30% de possibilité de participation des producteurs aux achats de l'État. Donc, au vu que les remboursements, les fonds de crédit sont sécurisés, aujourd'hui, il y a de plus en plus de motivation pour que les secteurs privés s'impliquent davantage pour que ces petits producteurs, l'agriculture puisse être une activité économiquement viable au Mali.
Juste pour les participants qui nous écoutent et qui s'intéressent à ce modèle, quel est le point ou peut-être 2 points d'attention particuliers sur lesquels il faut vraiment être vigilant quand on essaye de développer des centres d'agrégation? Est-ce qu'il y a 1 ou 2 points qui vous paraissent vraiment les points les plus critiques et les plus compliqués?
Oui, il y en a parce qu'il y en a des défis, parce que il y a de plus en plus, nous constatons une insuffisance notoire des structures, des infrastructures de stockage adéquates. Nous avons aussi des questions d'équipement. AGRA quand même a mis des dispositions pour mettre des équipements à la disposition des producteurs comme des batteuses, les sacs PIX pour l'amélioration de la qualité de la conservation des céréales, des silos métalliques et plastiques. Alors, aussi, nous avions des problèmes sur la flambée des prix des intrants. Même des points d'achoppement que nous avons comme contrainte majeure et puis le processus d'encadrement de proximité qui doit soutenir la chaîne au-delà des services de soutien de l'État.
Parfait. Merci beaucoup, Monsieur Cissé Demba, pour cet exemple très intéressant des centres d'agrégation qui visiblement qui ont en tout cas un véritable impact au Mali. Monsieur Henri Ilboudo, vous êtes directeur du centre écologique Albert Schweitzer. On sait qu'en Afrique, le changement climatique a un impact très fort et qui va aller croissant sur un certain nombre d'activités, dont évidemment les activités agricoles. Comment vous pouvez décrire un peu le contexte de la transition agroécologique au Burkina Faso? Comment est-ce avec cette transition agroécologique, on arrive à renforcer la résilience, à rendre les petits producteurs notamment qui sont les plus sensibles, à les rendre plus résilients face au changement climatique? Monsieur Ilboudo, il faut que vous mettiez votre micro pour qu'on vous entende. Merci beaucoup.
Merci bien, Frédéric. Parfait. Merci à l'ensemble des participants. Et merci à Agra qui nous donne l'opportunité de nous retrouver ce matin. Et comme vous le savez, le monde aujourd'hui connaît les effets du changement climatique, marqués justement par des irrégularités pluviométriques. On note des sécheresses par-ci, des inondations par-là, et de manière générale, il y a une hausse des températures. Et donc, la zone ouest africaine, et principalement le Burkina Faso, n'échappe pas à cette situation. Alors, je dois préciser qu'au Burkina, l'activité agricole occupe près de 80% de la population rurale, dont la production est en majorité tributaire des conditions climatiques. Alors, ceci étant, cette situation expose donc les populations burkinabées à des crises alimentaires qui sont devenues chroniquement vulnérables et à l'insécurité alimentaire et nutritionnelle en raison justement de la dégradation des terres, de la baisse des fertilités des sols. Parce que vous n'ignorez pas que la terre arable est la source du maintien de la vie et de la sécurité des hommes. Alors, ceci étant, les aménagements physiques avec des techniques telles que les cordons pierreux, les digues ou les diguettes favorisent donc l'infiltration de l'eau et la production du compost améliore ainsi la fertilité et la qualité du sol. Donc, ce qui augure une meilleure productivité, donc de bons rendements. Et c'est en cela que l'agroécologie, qui est un ensemble de techniques, et de méthodes, de pratiques culturelles adaptées dans une zone donnée et mise au point sur la base des réalités locales, permet de renforcer efficacement la résilience des petits producteurs agricoles.
Quels sont les acteurs qui agissent sur cette transition agroécologique, qui s'impliquent?
Alors, il y a plusieurs acteurs qui interviennent, en tout cas au niveau du Burkina, dans cette question de transition écologique. Et il faut signaler que la transition agroécologique est d'abord une volonté du gouvernement burkinabé. Ça, c'est un aspect. Et donc, il y a plusieurs projets, plusieurs grands projets qui sont en cours ou qui sont en cours d'élaboration. Et les projets qui sont en cours sont mis en œuvre à travers presque l'étendue du territoire national. On peut signaler le projet pour l'agriculture contractuelle et la transition écologique, le PACT. Il y a le PAPFA, qui est un grand projet qui intervient dans la partie sud-ouest et ouest du Burkina Faso. Et donc, au niveau des intervenants, on note les ONG et les associations de développement. Il y a des chercheurs, des universitaires, des organismes internationaux et régionaux. On peut citer la FAO, le PNUD, la CEDEAO, l'AFD et bien entendu AGRA, qui interviennent au niveau comme acteurs. Mais il est important de signaler également les organisations des producteurs, le secteur privé ainsi que des collectifs qui sont actifs sur la thématique.
Monsieur Ilboudo, je crois qu'on a un petit problème technique. L'image s'est figée pendant quelques secondes. Voilà, on vous a retrouvé. On vous avait perdu quelques secondes. Voilà.
Ah oui.
Vous pouvez reprendre.
Alors, je disais qu'au niveau des intervenants, on peut noter les ONG, les organisations non gouvernementales, les associations de développement, et les chercheurs, les universitaires, les organismes internationaux et régionaux tels que la FAO, le PNUD, la CEDEAO et bien entendu AGRA. Et nous ne pouvons pas oublier les producteurs qui sont les organisations des producteurs qui jouent un rôle important, le secteur privé et
Monsieur Ilboudo, on vous a perdu à nouveau. Alors peut-être, voilà, on va attendre peut-être quelques secondes de voir si on si on vous récupère. Ça n'a pas l'air d'être le cas. Donc peut-être on reviendra tout à l'heure sur vous, et je vais passer du coup à Youssouf Ballo, qui est directeur de l'entreprise semencière Soprosec. Donc vous avez mis en place en fait ce qu'on appelle des agents communautaires de base, qui sont des conseillers communautaires, qui sont souvent des femmes d'ailleurs. Donc Monsieur Ballo, est-ce que vous pouvez nous expliquer ce système des agents communautaires de base? Est-ce que c'est un système qui est durable? Quelles sont les motivations que vous avez mis en place pour que ces agents communautaires de base puissent fonctionner?
Bonjour à tous, bonjour à toutes. Je suis très heureux vraiment d'être membre de ce panel, ce qui me permet surtout de vous expliquer un peu comment nous avons mis en place ce concept de conseil communautaire à travers le Mali. Tout d'abord, il faut comprendre dans un premier temps que les compagnies sémencières avaient vraiment de sérieux défis dans le cadre de la commercialisation de leurs semences, et notamment la mise à l'échelle des variétés hybrides qui doivent être adoptées par les paysans. Et ces défis, alors nous les avons analysés, et c'est grâce à la stratégie Piata de Agra que nous avons intégré ce concept-là, d'ailleurs pendant le projet, pour voir comment est-ce qu'on peut vulgariser les variétés hybrides auprès des producteurs. Parce que l'adoption de ces variétés hybrides-là est un sine qua non, notamment pour la survie des compagnies sémencières au Mali. Parce qu'il se trouve qu'il y a des variétés OPV, les composites, que les paysans ont la possibilité de passer les semences entre eux et replanter pendant les campagnes qui suivent. Alors, malheureusement, dans ce contexte-là, il n'est pas possible alors pour le paysan de revenir avant 2 ou 3 ans vers les mêmes compagnies sémencières pour acheter les semences. Pour les hybrides qui ont une autre caractéristique qui fait que les paysans ne peuvent pas les développer eux-mêmes. Donc, mais c'est des variétés qui ont un fort potentiel, une grande résistance au stress et aux inondations, etc., et aux maladies. Donc, et les paysans étaient réticents à ces variétés-là parce qu'ils pensent que ça va les rendre dépendants de façon économique, de façon financière. Donc, aussi, ce qui nous a surtout motivés dans l'utilisation de ces conseils communautaires, c'était que les distances que les producteurs devaient parcourir pour accéder à la semence étaient tellement longues que ça créait d'autres coûts supplémentaires par rapport au prix d'achat des semences. 10 à 20 km, voire plus. Et donc, également, les compagnies sémencières, nous sommes confrontés à ce qu'on appelle le coût de la communication, le coût du marketing. Nous n'avons pas la possibilité également de mettre en place des boutiques de vente ou des points de vente dans toutes les grandes agglomérations du Mali, par exemple. Donc, tout cela, nous avons réfléchi, nous avons identifié des personnes qui sont influentes dans les communautés, qui ont vraiment, qui sont écoutées, etc., qui savent un peu lire et écrire, qui savent communiquer un peu. Et ils ont été formés avec les services de vulgarisation des directions régionales de l'agriculture dans les 3 régions dans lesquelles sont intervenus le projet. Et alors, on a procédé par des voies de démonstration. Donc, a mis en place des parcelles de démonstration, mères et démonstration filles, avec des paquets de 100 grammes, 50 grammes, que nous avons distribués à travers ces 6 billets-là. Donc, c'est des millions de paquets que nous avons distribués, ce qui a permis aux paysans de connaître surtout les différentes variétés et de réduire les réticences autour de ces variétés-là. Donc, immédiatement, avec les caractéristiques que les paysans ont identifiées, ils avaient la possibilité en ce moment de se référer aux mêmes personnes qui étaient leurs conseillers, alors pour demander à acheter la semence auprès des compagnies sémencières. Donc, ces CC-là, ces conseils communautaires que nous appelons des VBA, sont devenus automatiquement, sinon de façon progressive, des représentants ou des dépositaires des compagnies sémencières en milieu rural. Ouais. Donc,
comment est-ce que vous vous assurez que ces agents communautaires de base effectuent de manière efficace et qualitative leur mission de distribution des semences une fois qu'elles les ont récupérées chez vous?
Merci beaucoup. Donc, ces conseillers communautaires, notre relation est une relation commerciale. Et que nous avons des contrats de déposition à leur niveau sur commission. Donc, pour leur leçon, une commission de vente. Donc, sur chaque quantité qu'ils vendent à leur niveau. Donc, et nous évoluons sur un mécanisme de chaîne de valeur. Donc, une approche de chaîne de valeur qui leur permet, le paysan exprime les besoins en semences à leur niveau, en termes de variété, en termes de quantité, comme vous avez vu dans les différentes interventions, qu'aujourd'hui, il faut produire ce que le marché veut. Et donc, le paysan doit améliorer la qualité également de son produit vis-à-vis du marché. Donc, nous sommes dans un consortium, alors, dans des consortia. Et donc, le paysan exprime son besoin auprès du conseiller. Et le conseiller, maintenant, fait appel aux compagnies sémencières qui viennent les approvisionner. Donc, nous travaillons avec cette stratégie-là. Et de plus en plus, maintenant, nous faisons même des dépôts en vrac chez ces conseillers-là. Donc, ils ont la possibilité de vendre et après, ils remboursent, ils payent directement à la compagnie sémencière. Donc, vous voyez que c'est ce qui nous a permis surtout de faire une adoption progressive de ces variétés hybrides qui vont de 5 à 9 tonnes à l'hectare. Aujourd'hui, les compagnies sémencières sont arrivées en l'espace de 3 ans, de 2018 à 2021, une quantité de 4 578 tonnes de variétés hybrides, avec un chiffre d'affaires de 5 951 470 $. En l'espace de 3 ans, ce qui n'avait jamais pu être fait. Hein. Et on était même en phase de survie parce que nous étions très dépendants des marchés de l'État et des marchés des ONG pour pouvoir vendre nos semences. Aujourd'hui, ça permet de diversifier les sources de vente de ces compagnies sémencières et d'augmenter leur chiffre d'affaires de façon très, très importante.
Je reviens juste.
Ça a permis.
Excusez-moi, M. Ballot, on vous a perdu une seconde, mais je reviens juste sur ce que je disais tout à l'heure, parce qu'on voit bien, en effet, que ce système d'agents communautaires de base a eu un impact sur vos activités, sur la distribution de semences auprès des notamment auprès des petits exploitants agricoles. Mais ma question, c'était vraiment sur le choix de ces agents communautaires de base. Comment est-ce que parce que c'est important, en fait, n'importe qui ne peut pas l'être, j'imagine. Donc, il y a des profils, il faut s'assurer en effet que les semences seront effectivement livrées là où elles doivent être livrées, etc. Comment est-ce que vous les choisissez, ces agents communautaires de base?
Merci. Ces agents communautaires de base sont choisis sur des critères que nous avons définis, notamment avec des ONG partenaires tels que ECOR, tels que Mission Sahel, tels que Malimark et les directions régionales de l'agriculture, qui ont à leur niveau des services de vulgarisation agricole. Donc, il s'agit de personnes qui savent un peu lire et écrire, au moins, et qui ont une certaine confiance au niveau de la communauté. Donc, ce ne sont pas, c'est des paysans avant tout, donc ils pratiquent l'activité agricole. Il y a des hommes et il y a des femmes.
Ce ne sont pas des commerçants, en fait, ce sont des paysans, c'est ça?
Voilà, ce sont des paysans. Et donc, ce sont des critères comme ça, et les personnes doivent être basées dans la communauté. Et ils doivent jouir également d'une certaine confiance auprès de leurs collègues paysans dans la communauté là-bas. Donc, c'est un peu les critères que nous avons définis. Il faut aussi que ce soit des personnes qui ont... Il y a des jeunes parmi eux, il y a aussi des personnes qui ont un peu âgées jusqu'à l'âge de 18 jusqu'à 50 ans. Et donc, ils jouissent d'une certaine notoriété auprès de la communauté. Donc, quand ils disent quelque chose, les gens sont d'accord avec eux. Et puis, ils peuvent interpréter aussi, ils peuvent diffuser une information que les gens peuvent prendre facilement. Ou encore, ils peuvent faire des restitutions également au niveau de la communauté. Notamment quand on leur explique les caractéristiques des variétés, ils doivent pouvoir restituer ça auprès des communautés, par exemple. Ils doivent pouvoir également stimuler les gens vers l'essai de ces variétés-là. Voilà un peu quelques critères que nous avons retenus. Et l'ensemble de ces services que j'ai cités là ont participé au choix de ces conseils communautaires.
Parfait, merci beaucoup, c'est extrêmement, extrêmement clair. Je vais juste redonner la parole à M. Iboudo, parce que malheureusement, M. Iboudo, vous avez été interrompu tout à l'heure quand vous étiez en train de parler, il y a eu un petit problème de technique. Et donc là, voilà, dès que vous aurez remis votre son, je peux vous passer la parole pour vous terminer donc justement sur le sujet de l'agroécologie, qui est un sujet quand même extrêmement important aujourd'hui et qui va l'être de plus en plus. Donc, comment est-ce que finalement les différents acteurs qui interviennent sur le sujet de l'agroécologie peuvent l'intégrer de manière durable? Monsieur Ilboudo.
Oui, signalons à ce niveau qu'au niveau du Burkina, il y a un référentiel national sur l'agroécologie qui est en cours d'élaboration. Et donc, pour que les acteurs puissent intégrer l'agroécologie, il me paraît nécessaire que l'organisme ou l'opérateur de développement remplisse ou en tout cas veille sur un certain nombre de points. Premièrement, il y a que cet opérateur de développement devrait avoir des relations solides avec les communautés et l'administration locale, ainsi qu'une connaissance approfondie du contexte du milieu. Et ça, c'est fondamental. Et les communautés elles-mêmes doivent s'engager résolument dans un processus d'apprentissage et d'adaptation. Ça, c'est le premier.
Peut-être monsieur Ilboudo, si vous m'entendez, peut-être que vous pouvez, voilà, si on veut récupérer, je vous conseille, monsieur Ilboudo, on vous a perdu. Est-ce que vous pouvez couper votre caméra? Je pense que c'est à cause de la caméra.
Oui, je vous attends.
Voilà, juste couper parce qu'on vous a à nouveau perdu. Est-ce que vous pouvez juste couper votre caméra? Comme ça, on va simplement vous entendre pour qu'on puisse vous entendre correctement jusqu'à la fin, parce que sinon, on a du mal à entendre ce que vous voulez nous dire. Voilà, donc si vous arrivez à couper votre caméra, ça permettra d'avoir un audio plus fluide. Comme ça, vous allez pouvoir aller jusqu'au bout de votre propos.
C'est bon?
Allez-y, on
Ou
vous
bien
écoute.
j'arrête carrément la vidéo.
Voilà, enlevez la vidéo, tout à fait. Voilà, parfait. On vous écoute, comme ça vous allez pouvoir terminer tranquillement. Allez-y.
D'accord, vraiment, merci bien. Donc, j'étais en train de dire comment les acteurs peuvent intégrer l'agroécologie de manière durable. Et j'avais évoqué l'implication des communautés elles-mêmes dans ce processus d'apprentissage et d'adaptation. Et deuxièmement, il me semble fondamental que pour être viable et accessible aux petits producteurs, le déploiement des innovations doit se faire de manière progressive. Ça, c'est important. Et autre élément important, c'est de veiller à ce que les interventions agroécologiques soient mises en œuvre de manière séquentielle et intégrée. Et ceci grâce à une approche axée sur les systèmes. Ça, c'est un élément important. Et pour avoir un impact durable sur la résilience, toutes les interventions agroécologiques doivent être programmées et séquencées, de manière à ce que les activités adaptées soient également conçues pour apporter un appui spécifique aux ménages les plus pauvres et les plus vulnérables. Et enfin, de notre point de vue, il faut repenser les priorités de développement local sous le prisme de la résilience au sein des collectivités locales. Et là, c'est fondamental. Ça permet justement d'intégrer les préoccupations des populations à la base dès l'élaboration, la conception des projets de développement. Voici ce que je pouvais ajouter à ce niveau-là.
Merci beaucoup, monsieur Ilboudo. On a réussi quand même à avoir la fin de votre intervention, malgré les petits soucis de connectivité qui malheureusement arrivent dans certains pays africains qui ne sont pas toujours à ce stade très bien connectés à l'Internet. Merci à tous les participants de ce deuxième panel pour leurs différents témoignages concrets sur les mécanismes d'approvisionnement en intrants, sur les centres d'agrégation, sur la transition agroécologique ou encore sur les agents, le développement et la mise en place des agents communautaires de base, qui sont autant d'exemples concrets de tout ce qui est fait en Afrique de l'Ouest pour améliorer la productivité des petits producteurs. On arrive bientôt à la fin de ce forum ouest-africain des agriculteurs qui est organisé par l'AGRA en partenariat avec Jeune Afrique et The Africa Report. Mais avant de nous quitter, on a une intervention très importante qui est l'intervention de Madame Adji Assimwe Condé, vice-présidente programme innovation et delivery d'AGRA. Donc, Madame Condé va faire une intervention en anglais, je pense. Donc, pour les francophones qui nous écoutent, vous avez donc le bouton interprétation en bas qui vous permet d'avoir la traduction du discours de Madame Condé. I will now switch to English and thank you all the participants, and I will give the floor to Adji Assimwe Condé, Vice President Program Innovation and Delivery at AGRA. Adji, it's up to you. I give you the floor for the conclusion of this West African Farmers Forum.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. That's very good.
Excellent.
Perfect, thank you.
Excellent. Good afternoon or bonjour, depending on where you're joining us from. I am honored to be joining you on this session, and thanks a lot, Frederick and Nicholas, for the moderation. I think that was excellent. But most importantly, our distinguished panelists, who would like to thank both the French speakers and the English speakers who were able to share with us their experiences across the West African part of our continent, and especially the suggestions and the ideas that were put forward that indeed demonstrate that we as Africa have an opportunity to elevate agriculture and solve for poverty, hunger, as well as improved livelihoods for our smallholder farmers. So I just will try and summarize what I had. And I think I had very interesting conversations, but let me try and anchor this in the work that we have been trying to do in the whole West African region for the last 5 years. So as AGRA as an institution, we set out to build our functional systems, as you know, across all the inputs, markets, as well as inclusive finance, but as well as supporting governments to put together enabling policies that would then ensure that the smallholder farmers have access to their inputs and as well as access to markets. So the assumption that we broadly made was that if indeed we have an empowered and informed farmer, then we should be able to see them increase their productivity. However, or alas, as you all know, we have new realities or new shocks that our smallholder farmers had to undergo, and obviously climate change, as well as fluctuating prices and all the other shocks that you all know, and COVID, most importantly, which we now live in, became a new reality in what we usually call the VUCA environment. But that said, I think most of our work in West Africa, we did it across over 150 implementing partners. And please join me in thanking all the implementing partners, our grantees and our consultants that have been very, very instrumental in supporting us do this work on the ground. But also the governments that we work in, our country teams that have been at the forefront of working with governments and ministries of agriculture have played a significant role as well to ensuring that we are elevating the voices of smallholder farmers and indeed creating the priorities that have demonstrated some of the gains that we have seen. But that said, not all is lost. I think we have learned, and today in this meeting, I wanted to summarize 5 key points that I thought stood out most importantly. I think one of the priorities that I had from all the panelists in essence was that to elevate agriculture, we need to prioritize the appropriate infrastructure that supports the smallholder farmer to access markets. And I think many of you spoke about this in many ways, whether be it irrigation or making sure we have adequate warehouses, making sure we have, say, agriculture insurance, whether we called it pest management, soil health, aggregation centers, that became a key part. So whatever it is that we call appropriate infrastructure has come out as one big message that I had from most of the speakers today. The other message that I also had that was, uniform across all speakers is the opportunity to use innovations to connect this smallholder farmer to the rest of the ecosystem. And I was humbled to hear the experience from Nigeria, where they are going on a big initiative to profile smallholder farmers using digitization. So we are going to start having big data that can help us map where the smallholder farmer is. And I think that will go a long way in ensuring that services, affordable services, are optimized across the rest of Africa. And we will be looking to learn from Nigeria in that regard. But equally, I know that there are very many other digital solutions that we have tested out and other partners that are in the ecosystem have been trying out. So indeed, innovation is a possibility, and we should be able to leverage the deepened penetration of the smartphone or the phone across all the countries in which we operate. The other big message that I also had was the need to retool extension services. And I heard the word retooling, which I thought was extremely appropriate, that while we have public extension systems and they are not adequate, as we all know, retooling is important, but also bringing a public-private sector approach to extension remains a very critical success factor for agriculture to work. So again, I thought that elevating agriculture through retooling extension services, was the same across all the actors that spoke. And second last, but not least, was using markets not only as a pull factor, but also as a sustainability lever. And I felt I have heard quite a lot about markets, but I thought that the framing that I had in this particular way was very, very powerful. That not to look at markets just as a pull, but also to speak to how it can be able to sustain what we are doing with the smallholder farmer in agriculture. So the pull factor and the sustainability factor indeed can deliver an inclusive agriculture transformation for our smallholder farmers. And lastly, the message I had from Waki was the need for the right technologies creates what we call not just only organized farmers, but if you have organized farmers, you give them increased choice, and increased choice gives us an empowered farmer. I think that as well was a very encouraging message which cuts across most of the speakers. And I leave being extremely humbled, but also extremely opportunistic that indeed we can transform agriculture in sub-Saharan Africa. And West Africa has set the pace, and we are all learning from what we are doing in West Africa, but also what we are doing in Eastern Africa as we take the Farmers Forum next to Southern Africa. So allow me, Mr. Moderator, to use this opportunity, Nicholas, to also invite the people on the call today to the annual AGRF, which is happening next week. As you know, we will be having over 10,000 people coming together to discuss these and more ideas in terms of how to transform agriculture. So on behalf of Agri's management, I would like to extend the invitation to people on the call to join us. And if you haven't registered yet, it is free, please do so. It's a whole week of ideas, of brainstorming, and let us together elevate agriculture. Thank you very much, and well done to the teams that have been working behind the scenes to make this happen. Aluta continua for God and my country.
Thank you very much, Adji, for this very stimulating conclusion remarks. It was a fantastic summary of what was said today. We had lots of very interesting panelists. It was interesting to have a forum that is both English and French, because those two languages are very important in the region. And I wanted to also to thank all Agri's team for this forum, and also my team at Jeune Afrique and the Africa Report, which helped Agri's organizing this important forum. So we will all register for the AGRF next week, which is the most important agricultural forum in Africa, and this forum is now over. We'll have the possibility to see the replay on Jeune Afrique website, on the Africa website, report website, and also on AGRA's website for all the people that were not able to see the forum today and want to hear the very interesting remarks that were made today. Thank you to all of you, to all the participants and speakers, and see you soon. Bye.
Thank you.